Hello, my name is Avishikta Ghosh. I am here to present on workplace injury for my course Occupational Health and Safety. What is workplace injury? A workplace injury is one that happens at work when in a workplace or in a company property requires medical treatment, may or may not require time away from work. The injuries that can be seen are personal injuries like slip and fall, repetitive motion injury, chronic exposure conditions, etc. One of the most important workplace injuries is due to hazardous equipment, injuries which can happen in a common workplace from day to day and which result in some serious injuries to workers and sometimes to some long-term or permanent problems. How common is the workplace injury? As we can see, it's really alarmingly common. In Canada, it's reported that 925 workers died due to work-related injuries which caused in 2019. Injuries in the workplace nationwide number is approximately 3 million per year according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. This amount is roughly 8,000 injuries per day, which is 350 per hour or 6 injuries per minute. So that's really alarming and overwhelming, as we can see. The impact of the injuries are some as I listed here are like lead to more than 170 billion in direct financial cost. As an individual, the cost of the injury may not reach up to billion, but they can still be substantial. Medical expenses and loss of wages can consume many workers' saving. It is not unusual for injured worker to go into debt if they fall to assert their legal rights effectively. The physical pain, emotional toll of an injury can have financial and non-financial cost as well. And over a lifetime, this cost could becomes really high. So common types of injuries at work. The top 3 causes are overexertion, body assertion, slip, trips and fall. According to NSA, National Safety Council, this accounts for about 84% of the non-fatal injuries. Falls are the most common for workers working in an height. So, overexertion, which leads to 35% of the injuries. Contact with object or hitting some object it's about 25% of the injuries. Slips, trips, falls, which is 25% of the injuries. We should take care while working and should look for situations where we can for lifting heavy items like bending and twisting should be avoided. Heavy object should be stored next to the floor, and moving with some equipments like some reach, fork trucks, etc. Placing of the ladder should be proper and in place. Cluster should be avoided so that the trips and falls can be minimized. Common workplace injuries are, as we can see, falls are the most common. Working at a height, wet or oily surfaces, icy and snowy conditions. In Canada, the parking lots, when after an heavy snowfall, if it's not properly cleaned, many workers fall there and injure themselves. Most common injuries sustained at work are sprains and strain, which about 49% of the serious injuries at workplace. Neuroskeletal illness are a major cause of concern, among most industries, from office workers risk at developing carpal tunnel syndrome to those operating heavy machineries during work. Some workplaces are definitely at a risk of high injuries, like people who are working as police officers and firefighters, transportation and shipping, manufacturing, production, agriculture, construction. These people are always prone to high level of risk at workplace. Like the firefighters and the police officers, they respond to emergency situations and put themselves at risk or illness every day because of the dangerous nature of their job. Police officers, firefighters, personnel, and other first responders regularly risk harm to themselves to protect the public or common people like us. Their job involves physical exertion, stress. They face irregular shifts which cause physical and mental strain and fatigue. Transportation and shipment hazards are typically into one of 6 general categories in the people who are working in these sectors. They are mainly biological, chemical, ergonomic, physical, safety, and physiological. Biological, depending on the materials they are stored, biological hazard may or may not be present. Chemical, because they deal with lots of chemical coming and receiving and shipping, like glue, solvent, etc. They can be of a chemical hazard. Ergonomic, because of their posture, they are constantly standing, lifting heavy material, working repetitive movement, operating heavy machineries. Physical, they are exposed to high temperatures, an extreme high temperature or very low temperature, windy, rain, snow. So that's a real hazard for working. Safety issues, as in conveyors, they work with conveyor and belt, heavy machineries, forklifts, material handling, which can be cause of slip, trip, fall, or other injuries. Physiological, they are excellent in multitasking and their nature of work actually requires that as well. So their deadlines lead to stressful situation, rotating shifts, and all can lead to all these situations. Manufacturing, as some of the things mentioned there, as transportation, operating heavy machineries, conveyor belt, all these are also there in the manufacturing and production industries. The manufacturing and production industries contact with the object equipment involves 34% of the injuries. Overexertion, body movement, because they have to constantly move and work, that 32%. Trips and fall is 18%. Repetitive motion is 6%. Exposure to harmful substances or environment is 5%. Agriculture, is a family owned, most of them are family owned, but still injuries are really high. Mainly overturning of the tractors or heavy machineries, falls, toxic chemical exposure to pesticides and other chemical substances, suffocation, heat stress during the summer, limb crush in agricultural machineries, animal related injuries, etc. Construction. Excuse me. As people work in construction and they are mostly working with heights, fall is one of the major cause of their injuries, and this fall can sometimes be fatal. Workers are most likely to fall from scaffoldings, ladders, and roofs. According to OSHA, 65% of the construction industry work while on scaffolds, and that's really high, as we can see. Reason of the workplace injuries. The reasons are simple. They not having proper PPE, not having proper health and safety training, like for workers working at a height or with other chemical substances or anything related to, or maybe proper training with the machineries and others. Workplace physiological hazards arise from evolving work demand in conjunction with changing economical and social extent of work. Are emerging threat to physical and mental. Evidence has been amassed suggesting an association between stressor and the risk for work-related injury and MSD. Safety violations. The safety violations lead to considerable amount of non-fatal and fatal, like inadequate fall protection, unsafe scaffoldings, inadequate hazard communication, unsafe ladders, not failure to control lockout, tagout, power, industrial truck safety violations, not having proper respiratory protection, inadequate fall protection training, inadequate machine guiding, and so on. The list goes on and on. Causes of the fatal injuries. Fatal injuries at work is growing concern. The cause of fatal workplace injuries are: number 1, fall, which accounts for 33.5%, struck by an object, which accounts for 11.1%, electrocution 8.5%, caught in between is 5.5%. Prevention of injuries can result in much less workplace injuries to happen at first. So how can we prevent injuries? First, being alert all the time while working, promoting safety awareness and education, being aware of MSD and MSIS, always using proper PPE, maintaining an orderly workplace communication, effectively enduring everyone in proper attire, checking safety hazards, clearing clutters, following kaizens for safety and effective workplace, maintaining proper ergonomic postures while working. Workplace injuries have become a serious concern these days. These injuries are not only physical, but they can also affect a person's mental condition, and they have been a short or long lasting impact on a person or a family. When a person is injured at work, it is important to report immediately and of the injury so that it can prevent some other serious accidents later. One should always remember safety first. So that's all for today. Thank you.